Tonight,
America is back.
President Trump addressing the nation in a joint session of Congress, laying out his vision.
We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started.
Detailing his economic agenda.
We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this damage and make America affordable again.
There were plenty of cheers and some jeers.
The chair now directs the sergeant-at-arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
And the Democratic response.
America wants change, but there's a responsible way to make change and a reckless way. And we can make that change without forgetting who we are as a country.
Plus, inside Trump's first 43 days back in office, signing nearly 100 executive orders.
Trump came into office determined to shake things up, and he's done so like no president in almost a century.
His aggressive plans to trim the fat from the federal government, and his pledge to put America first. But many Americans are worried about inflation, the soaring price of eggs.
I go to the store and it's like $10 a carton. I'm like, what?
And could more tariffs bring higher prices? This special edition of Nightline, presidential address to the nation. We'll be right back. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We begin with a raucous night in the nation's capital. President Trump addressing a joint session of Congress, vowing to restore the American dream. But some Democrats made a point of showing their disapproval. ABC's senior political correspondent Rachel Scott was there.
Well, Byron, this was a divided Washington on full display, and that was evident within 10 minutes of the president's speech. Congressman Al Green standing up, shouting at the president, so much so that he ultimately had to be removed from the chamber. And then we saw several Democrats, several minutes later, stand up, turn their backs toward the president, taking off their blazers, their shirts reading "Resist." A lot of other Democrats, though, protesting silently, using these paddles to resist the message from President Trump and attack Elon Musk, trying to fact-check the speech line by line as the president was ultimately delivering it to the nation. The big question now, of course, is there any sense of bipartisanship here in Washington? We didn't hear a lot of that from the president, but will these two sides work together? Byron.
Rachel Scott, thank you. The president receiving plenty of applause during that nearly 2-hour address, the longest to a joint session of Congress in modern history.
America is back.
Tonight, President Donald Trump addressing Congress in his first major speech, laying out his administration's achievements.
We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years.
Trump vowing to reshape government to what he called the renewal of the American dream.
Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record, to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it.
The room often erupting in cheers and jeers.
Mr. Green, take your seat.
Speaker Mike Johnson removing Representative Al Green of Texas for disrupting the speech.
Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
The president continuing, touting what he noted as victories over immigration.
Within hours of taking the oath of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever.
Trump calling out Democrats for refusing to applaud. Several female lawmakers wearing pink in protest. Others holding various signs.
And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what.
Democrats remaining stoic as Trump highlighted his efforts to reshape the country's approach to social issues.
And our country will be woke no longer.
Attacking DEI.
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military.
And transgender rights.
And I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports.
The president also criticizing Democrats for the sluggish economy.
As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare.
And blaming his predecessor.
As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this damage and make America affordable again.
The president praising the work at DOGE.
And I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, perhaps you've heard of it, which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight.
Republicans erupting in applause for billionaire Elon Musk and DOGE's unverifiable efforts to reduce the size of government and spending.
By slashing all of the fraud, waste, and theft we can find, we will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments and grocery prices, protect our seniors, and put more money in the pockets of American families.
Trump doubling down on tariffs.
They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening.
The president threatening to tax other nations as well.
We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer.
Trump also highlighting some of the special guests in the room, like the family of college student Laken Riley, killed by an illegal immigrant while out for a jog.
That's why the very first bill I signed into law as your 47th president mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. It's a very strong, powerful act.
The president also announcing a new terror arrest.
3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan.
ABC News confirming that a key figure in the deadly attack has been apprehended.
And he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
Trump also touting his actions on ending the war in Ukraine.
2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people.
Many Democratic lawmakers wearing blue and yellow in support of Ukraine. After putting a pause on military aid to Ukraine, Trump acknowledging a letter he received from Zelensky today.
The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time.
The president also saying he's in touch with Russia.
We've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Throughout the night, several Democratic leaders walked out. The party's official response delivered by freshman Michigan Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
The president talked a big game on the economy, but it's always important to read the fine print. So, do his plans actually help Americans get ahead? Not even close.
Slotkin issuing a grave warning.
Our very system of government has been the aspiration of the world. And right now, it's at risk. It's at risk when the president decides you can pick and choose what rules you want to follow, when he ignores court orders and the Constitution itself, or when elected leaders stand by and just let it happen.
That was awesome.
But Trump's stronghold on Republicans fully displayed throughout the night.
Thank you, everybody. You did great. Thank you.
Let's bring in ABC's political director and Washington bureau chief Rick Klein. Rick, did the president accomplish tonight what he wanted to accomplish, what he needed to accomplish?
Yeah, Byron, this was Trump in full. This was a man who is emboldened, empowered, I think at the peak of the view that so many of his supporters have of where his popularity is and where his authority is. And he has accomplished so much. And I think this, in a way, was a victory lap and also a call to arms to his base and maybe beyond that to say, look, this is what I am trying to do, and I hope you get on board. He didn't reach out to people that were on the other side of him politically, but he certainly made an invitation to the country to get on board and say, look, this is what we're doing, and we'd like you to be part of it.
Now, speaking about the other side, Congressman Al Green from Texas, he gets removed early on in the speech, something that few of us had ever seen before. Theater, or does it set the tone for what we'll see between the two parties moving forward?
The Democratic response to me was about as chaotic as the Democratic response overall has been to Trump. It's like Democrats are still coming to terms with how to deal with this second iteration of Donald Trump. And I think between the walkouts and the protests and some of the boycotts of the speech entirely and the sitting on their hands throughout the night, it is clear they don't really know what to do about Donald Trump. And I don't think it's necessarily the best look in front of the American people, but certainly for a base and the divisions in this country, people that don't like what they're seeing from Trump, a lot of Democrats felt like they needed to do what they did tonight as well.
Rick Klein, always grateful. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you down the road. When we come back, the whirlwind of President Trump's first 43 days back in the White House. Welcome back. The president touting his accomplishments during that address tonight. Now we take a look back at his first 43 days in office. Here's my Nightline co-anchor, Juju Chang.
It's been a whirlwind 43 days since Donald Trump took office, beginning his second term as president of the United States.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
His administration wasting no time making its imprint on many facets of American life, signing at least 76 executive orders and counting.
Trump came into office determined to shake things up, and he's done so like no president in almost a century.
There is a new sheriff in town, and he's moving at warp speed right now.
From global health to tariffs to diversity efforts.
President Trump placing all federal diversity, equity, and inclusion staff on paid administrative leave.
The Trump administration testing the limits of presidential power in an effort to reshape America.
Trump is not just flexing his presidential powers, he's trying essentially to seize more. Every day comes a new boundary-busting assertion of presidential power.
One of President Trump's signature campaign issues, immigration.
We're a dumping ground. We're like a garbage can for the world. That's what's happened.
The new administration has wasted no time clamping down on illegal border crossings, sending troops to the southern border.
A very dangerous border. We're going to take care of it. Thank you.
And deploying ICE agents across the country, carrying out deportation operations, including this raid in Virginia. ICE arresting one man who was deported twice before and re-entered the country illegally again. Officials say he had been convicted of sexual battery. The administration's tough tactics seem to be having an impact. According to Homeland Security, border encounters have decreased 66% in January of 2025 compared to January 2024.
They're not coming. And it's not because of any policy, it's because of him. They know he will enforce the law. It is that straightforward. All you have to do is make it very clear, if you come here illegally, we will send you back.
Trump also following through on his promise to end diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, signing what critics say are anti-trans executive orders.
Trump knows something about his base. They want to win the culture war, right? DEI, transgender issues, all the woke issues, so-called. And the more he does that, the more they will give him slack on the other stuff.
President Trump has pledged to put America first, even if that means upending global alliances, like supporting the war effort in Ukraine, as evidenced in the testy Oval Office exchange.
You're gambling with World War III.
Trump is totally realigning the world order right now, and if you need proof of that, look no further than what he's doing right now with Ukraine. I mean, we go to this Oval Office meeting just a couple of days ago. You had Trump, J.D. Vance, the vice president, and the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, getting in this sort of argument on the world stage.
After the contentious meeting, the Trump administration announcing the U.S. is pausing military aid to Ukraine. Trump also levying 25% tariffs on our closest trading partners, Mexico and Canada, that kicked in last night, leading to the Dow dropping more than 1,300 points in the last 2 days.
The United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally.
And an additional 10% tariffs on goods from China.
Tariffs are easy, they're fast, they're efficient, and they bring fairness.
President Trump wants to encourage companies to buy stuff within the U.S. to boost domestic manufacturing.
But economists warn it could raise prices for Americans as businesses pass on rising costs to consumers. By one estimate, the average American household could spend up to $2,000 more a year on everything from produce to clothes to cars. The CEO of Target warning that shoppers will see prices go up on fruit and vegetables imported from Mexico in a matter of days.
If you just think about the sheer amount of stuff that we import from these biggest trading partners when it comes to food, fresh produce, a lot of that fresh stuff that's coming from Mexico, those prices could go up pretty quickly.
The tariffs taking effect as egg prices continue to soar.
Egg prices hitting a record high as the U.S. struggles with an outbreak of the bird flu.
I go to the store and it's like $10 a carton. I'm like, what?
So even though Donald Trump is checking off a whole bunch of boxes on his to-do list right now, the reality is he still has the hardest thing to follow through on, and that is prices.
Trump undeterred.
What they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs.
China, Mexico, and Canada vowing to retaliate with their own tariffs on American goods.
It's going to be chaotic, and most economists will tell you very bad for our economy. It's a big political risk for him. He's got to hope his people are so loyal to him that they'll pay a lot more every month.
Trump also remaking the federal bureaucracy, tasking billionaire Elon Musk to run DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. He's ordered mass layoffs of federal employees.
Look, we can safely say that Elon Musk has emerged as sort of the hatchet man in chief in the White House right now.
Musk often appearing in the Oval Office with the president.
If we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt.
The point is not just to find savings, it's to cut the size and power of the federal government and increase its efficiency.
If Elon Musk comes in and ends up cutting programs that impact a lot of Americans, people are going to be furious about this. And you're starting to see people show up at these town halls and press their Republican lawmakers. What are you going to do about this?
What DOGE is really trying to do.
Elon Musk right now is treading a really fine line in what he's doing, and there's really potential here for him to overstep.
Still, the Trump administration seems to just be getting started.
Our thanks to Juju. We'll be right back with this special edition of Nightline from Washington, D.C. We'll have much more on the presidential address and reactions on ABC News Live and on GMA in the morning. That's Nightline for this evening. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Thanks for the company, America. Good night.